serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change all I can, and the wisdom, yes, the wisdom to know the difference. Serenity to accept, yeah, the things I cannot change, the courage to change all I can, and the wisdom, yes, the wisdom to know the difference.
And the wisdom to know the difference. Ooh. Please welcome Gary Weinberg.
How about another hand for Azana? Is that beautiful or what? All right, I got to get lined up in the camera, especially to activate my good side, which I think is this side. This is the George Clooney side. And this is the Rick Moranis side. So we don't want to, I can't look over here, I'm sorry. No, imagine it. My finger won't last that long. What? Oh my Lord and butter. It is nice to be back. I think it's been like, what, 3 years, I think? Not that long. All right. artist. Life is my canvas. I am a sculptor with a big old piece of marble. And God says chisel and paint my masterpiece. Sing, dance, write a book, plant a garden, build a bookcase, teach somebody to read. Just dream a dream. Dream, then treat and move your feet. Hey, hey, hey. I'm a creator. I've read nights and every day the imaginator. Sing it if you feel. Hey, hey, hey. I'm a creator. Every night and every day. Every night and every day the imaginator. God is my kitchen. I make something delicious. Life brings the spices, and me, I just make wishes. And then I mix them all up. I cook up my masterpiece. Shake and bake and roast and toast. Whatever is the thing you want to do the most. Just dream. A dream. A dream. Then treat and move your feet. Hey, hey, hey. I'm a creator. Every night and every day the imaginator. I said, hey, hey, hey. I'm a creator. Every night and every day the imaginator. The imaginator. I am the imaginator. I am the imaginator. I am the imaginator. Who? I am the imaginator. I am the imaginator. The imaginator.
You're amazing. Let's thank Gary again. Let's start this morning with our land acknowledgement because it relates very, very closely with the message this morning. I acknowledge the Patwin, the Maidu, and the Nisenan First Peoples for their original and continued blessing upon this land where this center stands. This morning's title is For Something and Against Nothing. This is one of those hard things that sometimes just feels like life is just going around in a circle. I'm using this morning the book Living Resistance, an Indigenous woman who's seeking a vision for wholeness every day. Her name is Kaitlin Curtice. She is a North American Indigenous woman who was raised by a conservative Christian family, and now she's become interfaith. She's come on over to this side. Kaitlin and her spiritual journey had to identify and find her own identity at the same time that she was looking for her spirituality. And this is what she found. She found that her life was a life of resistance against colonization. The fact that her people had been removed from their land and the land had been taken from them. And as a result of that, the children were taken away from their families, from their communities, and raised by other families to civilize them. Or in other words, to assimilate them into the mainstream belief structure. And this is what the mainstream structure always wants to do, is to get in your head so that you think the way the oppressor wants you to think. When you start thinking that way about yourself, then you're already become a slave within your own mind. So this is how she was raised. This was her experience to assimilate her, to get her to leave her heritage and adopt just purely the American European way. She has decided, though, to go back and to access the wisdom of her ancestors. And so when you aren't raised around it, right, you have to seek it out. It is part of your spiritual journey, not only to find out who you are, but to find out what works for you spiritually. And oddly enough, those two things are totally interconnected. Who we are and what we are spiritually are so interconnected. So she reached back, she's connected to her ancestors and to her people, and she's found that there are 7 principles that are associated with the grandfathers. That's what they're called. And these are the teachings of love, respect, bravery, honesty, wisdom, truth, and humility. Very, very familiar, good and honest, wonderful things that go on. But she says it is the practice of these experiences that makes the relationship with herself, with her community, and the world a better place. Yes, it makes it a better place. So our title comes this morning from Ernest Holmes, from his sermon, Sermon by the Sea, his last sermon. And this is how it reads. Find me one person who has something, who is for something and against nothing, who is liberated enough not to condemn others. And then we will find that there is another liberator and an exalted human being. When you just don't need to criticize everyone else for where they are on their path, their spiritual path. And let me tell you, it ain't easy. I will not stand here and say that I don't judge. I do. It's just not often, not as much as it used to be. But here's the possibility here, the possibility of being an exalted human being. That's what I want to recognize this morning. So I recognize that, there are a lot of things about me, though, that I am just against. So how do I manage this issue of being against nothing and being for something when I am against so many things? I am unapologetically anti-oppression. Liberation runs through my veins just like my blood does. But it means I'm anti-oppression. How do I equate all that I can be as an exalted human being when I have so many problems, so many things that I'm against? Name it. Just name all the things that I'm against. I'm anti-racist, anti-supremacist, anti-xenophobic, anti-homophobic, anti-transphobic, anti-violence, anti-misogyny, anti-Islamophobia, and a few more that some of you can come up with in the room. In other words, I just have problems. I just have problems. There are probably a few more that I could have listed. I could have just gone on and on and on. But how do we live not against something when there are so many prevalent voices in our community that says that everything about you is wrong? How do we manage that? How do we become the exalted human being? Do we get lost in the anger and the frustration, or can we embrace another way of being where it's not about condemning someone else, but I'm going to live above as an exalted human being? What does exalted mean? I'm just above what's going on. Not that you're more important, but I'm living above the way the rest of the community is. And so now I have to manage these problems. Now we believe, or at least we teach, I can't really say what you believe. What we teach is that we have the power to change the world. And how that happens is the world is changed through us, right? Nothing is happening outside of us. We're in this. We are creating the world that we are in, just where we are, which is why I always remind you that you are the light of the world. So even when you don't want to be, remember, you still are. Now, the dimmer switch may be there, but your light never goes out. So how do I be against so many things, but really not against it, be for something? She encourages us to move our position from being reactive, which is being against something, to being proactive, to being for something. Can we have the same results and the same benefits about being for something without fighting everything that we might be against? In other words, we channel our energy into the experiences that we want, and we let the things that we don't want just kind of fade away. Why do we spend so much time worried about what we don't want? We all believe now we are these idealistic people. By the way, our belief structure is considered idealism. So everything is ideal. Everything comes from spirit. Therefore, it always has the potential to be at the quality and the level of the spirit. So we have this idea that there's acceptance should be in the world, and understanding and collaboration should work within communities. These are all very high ideals when we have to deal with the fact that have to resist all the things in the world that may be against me. But we desire for a world to be diverse and inclusive, and therefore we've got to tolerate some people that I don't like and people who don't like me. It's just the way it is. But being for something is about bringing real change into the world. We can spend all our energy being against something. But what does life look like when you figure out what you are for and you put all of your energy and focus on what you want the world to be and what the world can be if we practice what we say we want? See, we're always first. We want to say, give it to me first, and then I'll behave that way. But that ain't the way it works. That ain't faith. Faith says, I don't understand and I don't know, but I know if I do the right thing, that it will bear fruit in my life. We do it first. We do it first even when it's uncomfortable. We do it first before we know and believe where the blessing is going to come from. It's like when you give here. You can't trace the blessing back to you. But I guarantee you, if you ask anyone in this room who participates in this community, they will tell you it comes back. And it comes back pressed down, shaken together, and running over. It does. Okay, I don't know. I can't trace it. When I give $1, I don't know where the dollar is going to come from. But here's the issue. I don't care where it comes from. If Sutter brings it to me instead of you guys, just say amen. I bless who I work for. Because it doesn't make any difference where it comes from, because the cycle of this beneficial of planting and sowing is exactly the way the universe works. So how we behave, how we go at the world is the way the world will respond to us. Now, that is uncomfortable because I am against so many things. And it feels like, it almost is like, well, I don't want to be a hypocrite, right? I have to be against these things. You name a category, baby. You start checking the boxes, and I'm in most of them. If you got a problem with BIPOC people, you got a problem with me. If you got a problem with sexuality issues, you got me. I can check all the boxes. You get me in a room, you got it all covered. But if I'm in the room, and I am practicing what I teach, the room is going to change. Now, I may not be able to trace it back to what I believe and what I think, but it doesn't make a difference as long as it blesses me. Okay? But here is my struggle. I am committed to social justice. I am committed to social activism. If there is an issue to be against, I'm against it. So how can I deal with the resistance? How do I be resistant and not be against something? I think Kaitlin gives us some wisdom about this. She says, what you have to do is, the resistance is not so much that you are against everything. You focus on what you are for, and you live in what you are for. You live a proactive life, a life of faith where you plant in the world what you want to come back to you. That's how the world changes. See, this is not pushing back. This is not being angry. This is about putting my energy into the kind of world that I want to experience. I refuse to give up. And even when I do, hopefully you will encourage me not to give up. I still, no matter what is going on in the world, I still have to believe that good is there. That good is there. Why? Because at least if I'm planning my good, I can expect it back. I can't worry about everyone else. But the question is can I change the world by what I believe and what I practice? And I believe it is possible because with God, all things are possible. That's just the way it works. So she says she wants to live this life against the world that has taken away her identity. But she's not fighting. What she has done is she has adopted the principles in her life, and she practices a life of the principles that are associated with her ancestors. She says she identifies with Mother Earth. Now that brings up a very interesting question to me, a little bit offline from the story this morning. But think about it as every illustration of God with a gender as male is a problem because he's always angry, mad, vengeful. That is the Western way of thinking about things. But it changes when you see it as mother. Because what do you see with mother? You see maternal, caring, loving, even though some of our parents needed to practice a little bit more, but it's there. Somebody's parents are that way, which is why I have a problem. First of all, God doesn't have any gender. God is, God is non-binary. But, God is non-binary. But if God is binary, if you got to use a gender, it has to be Mother, Father, God. Because if not, you're going to be angry. You're going to be angry and vengeful and looking for people to be punished. And most importantly, you are looking to win. I don't know that I'm going to always get the trophy or that my enemies are going to walk up to me and say, you won. I just have to know that it's true and walk on anyway. That's what I believe is necessary. She has adopted these principles of Mother Earth. And I love and respect that because it is part of her heritage. She doesn't say that everybody needs to practice the way she does. She just says this is where she has found her identity and her spirituality. And I hope you can say the same thing about your life, that you have found your identity and your spirituality, because it is your spirituality that gives you the ability to be who you are, who you were born to be, not what everyone else has told you you should be, but who you are, because you are whole, perfect, and complete, just the way you are, even when it's hard to believe. So as I look at this, and resistance for her is not the issue of pushing back. It is the issue of what she is for. So I can be anti, or I can choose to be pro-liberation. I can choose to be pro-love. Because Ernest continues in this statement to say, if we take it out of context, it looks like we're kind of in this quandary that we can't answer. But what he says is, once you get to the point that you're not against something and you're for something, you can live life fearlessly because you have tapped into your source. And once you tap into your source, there's nothing negative there. There's only love. And if there's only love there, how are we going to behave manifesting what God is in the world? Practicing, I can be focused on what I am against, or I can be focused on what I am for. And if I am for love, what comes out of love is justice and freedom and acceptance and all of the things that I want to receive in the world. It comes from love. But it means that I have to practice love first. And that's the only way that it works. So if you are waiting for the world to change, If you are waiting for things and circumstances to change so that it is the way you want to be, I would just recommend that you be what you want to see in the world. Because if you be it, you will experience it. And when I step out of line, you may tap me on the shoulder and remind me too that I am pro-liberation, I am pro-love, I am pro-inclusiveness. I am, whoever you are on your road, wherever you are on the road, your spiritual journey, I am there with you, even though I may be praying for you to arrive soon. I may be praying, because you know what? I love all you dearly, and individually we'll all get along well, but sometimes when you guys interact with each other, I have to remember that I am pro-liberation and I am pro-love. That is why, because I can get lost in all of the things that I am against. So where are you lost? Are you lost in the love? Are you lost in the anger? Because where you lose yourself, you will also find yourself. And so it is. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why this is coming up, but I gave the opening prayer at the CSL meeting, and I'm going to give it today. I will bless God at all times, and God's praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul makes its boast in the Lord, and the humble will hear thereof and be glad. Oh, magnify God with me, and let us exalt God together. And so it is.